Coming up on 621, here at the Big 550 KTRS. Paul Harris with Kelly Jackson. McGraw still off on vacation. Thanks for following us at 550 KTRS on Twitter. You can follow me at Paul Harris Show. You can follow Kelly at Kells_Jackson. And, of course, we stream our video of the show as well via stltoday.com and ktrs.com. A new report out from Consumer Reports says hospitals can make patients sick to the tune of hundreds of thousands of people a year. Scott Goldberg from ABC News is here with details. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Paul. Great to hear this, right? That you can actually get sick by going to the hospital. I guess it's not necessarily new, but Consumer Reports has collected numbers from the Centers for Disease Control and also used these numbers to rank hospitals in terms of which hospitals do the best job of staying infection-free. Every year, they say 648,000 people in the U.S. get infections during a hospital stay, and about 75,000 people die from those infections. That's according to those CDC numbers that Consumer Reports looked at, and they say that's twice the number of people who die each year in car crashes. So there's not really a whole lot we can do with this information besides practice good hygiene ourselves and ask questions maybe at the hospital about antibiotics. Are they really necessary? And if we see something dirty, obviously speak up. But this is more of just waving the flag for hospitals and saying, hey, you guys need to do a better job.
You know, I remember a couple of years ago I was talking to a British psychologist named Richard Wiseman who had done an experiment in hospitals to try to get the staff there to be cleaner, to wash their hands more often, because you go from one patient's room to another patient's room. If there's not a washroom or a bathroom nearby, you don't do that. So they put up signs outside of every patient's room in every hallway in the hospital. You know, the old employees must wash hands, but this one was employees must wash hands before entering this room, regardless of where you came from, was the message. And they found out that did not work at all. You know what did work, Scott?
What?
They put those little Purell dispensers outside of every room, and then they would all squirt their hands because they were now more concerned about themselves getting sick as they were going room to room. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, but I tend to think that's part of the problem. And certainly we've heard about antibacterial soaps and all the stuff that we've been using at home. And when you have this stuff that does such a good job of killing off bacteria, what it does is it creates these super bugs that can't be killed off by that stuff, and then we don't have the antibiotics to treat that, and they're also antibiotic resistant. So I wonder if our efforts to be too clean in a way have kind of brought us to this point.
Well, we need to have something going on as they go from room to room in the hospital, particularly
just regular soap.
Yeah, but there isn't always a sink there.
No, I know. I think the overprescription of antibiotics might be more of the concern in hospitals, not just because doctors don't know what they're prescribing, but a lot of patients insist on those because that's what we think is going to wipe out what's ever wrong with us. So one of the things that Consumer Reports recommends is talking to a doctor about antibiotics to see if something really powerful is necessary or if something simpler like penicillin would do the trick if you do have an infection. But it's always a conversation to have before you just leap to that.
So they also have a list, right? So I guess if you have like a scheduled surgery or something, can you check this list to see if a hospital is known to have these bacteria floating around, or what should you do?
Yeah, well, I mean, they do have a list of hospitals, but I tend to question this a little bit. The hospitals that are the highest rated, according to Consumer Reports, when it comes to preventing infection, tend to be in pretty small towns, which doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong with them, but Amarillo, Texas, Jupiter, Florida, Biloxi, Mississippi, Lima, Ohio. So, I mean, all of these, Lima, Ohio, they say that a lot of these smaller hospitals are doing a better job than the bigger, well-known ones, like even Mount Sinai here in New York, or the Cleveland Clinic, or the Mayo Clinic. But those bigger ones might be doing a better job of reporting what's wrong, and that's why they don't rate as high as far as Consumer Reports go. So checking a hospital's rating is kind of a mixed bag, I think, when it comes to this. It's more of just like what you see when you're there and having the conversation with your doctor.
One other thing I find interesting about this, Scott, and I've only given a cursory glance to this Consumer Reports study. I'll read the rest of it later on. But they talk about problems in the operating room where people are having surgery and are getting infected while they're in there. I would think that has to be the cleanest place in the building.
It should be. It certainly should be. And one of the things they say is if you have tubes connected, you should be asking the doctor every day if it's time to take the tubes out, because the longer that an incision or something like that is exposed to things, the more likely it is you would get some kind of infection. It's not necessarily that the surgical instrument has a problem, but it's just when they make the incision, there's the opportunity for bacteria to get in there.
All right, there's more information about this on the website, consumerreports.org. ABC News' Scott Goldberg, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, guys.
626.